We're here again with Motor Mouth, brought to you by the Boyertown Museum of Historic Vehicles. I'm Kendra.
I'm Dan.
And as always,
and
our guest this evening, our lovely diner patrons, including the lovely Tori here. Got our great guest this evening. And the guests are mostly you and me.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we're here at the Boyertown Museum in the Reading Diner. And of course, the Boyertown Museum, we'd love to hear from you at home. We're located at 85 South Walnut Street in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. And we're open 7 days a week, 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. So no excuse to not come and visit us and see some of the really neat stuff that we have here on display. We're going to be looking at a couple of things on display tonight. We're going to have different stops tonight in the gallery. Just so everyone at home knows, we've got some really neat upcoming events. Our Jeremiah Swinehart Carriage Factory, which is an original 1872 building, it's been really nicely restored, is now open, complete with blacksmithing demonstrations. And if you come on a Saturday in May and June, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., included with your regular admission, you can go up to the carriage factory and watch a blacksmith work at the forge. It's really neat. It's very popular. Everyone seems to really enjoy it.
And the thing is, you don't just watch either, because the two blacksmiths who are there are very good with the crowd, and they explain what they're doing and what's going on and
They
stuff.
are, and they're both very different. So if you come one, you have to come the next Saturday then and see the other one.
Yeah,
right?
I like that.
But yeah, they're really neat. And you're learning, and you don't know you're learning because they're very engaging people. They're neat guys. So please come and see them. Again, that's Saturdays in May and June from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and 2 Thursdays in each of those months too. Thursday, May 5th and Thursday, May 19th, and then Thursday, June 2nd and Thursday, June 16th. And this is all on the museum website, which is boyertownmuseum.org. So check it out and make sure you come on a day that they're here. That's really an interesting thing to see. So hopefully you can get to that. And just so you all know too, coming up in June, we will be having our second annual food truck fair. The truck stops here will be Saturday, June 25th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that's going to be a really neat event. We had a great turnout last year. We're going to do it again. About 8 or 9 food trucks, but there's other stuff to do too. We're going to have a DJ. There's going to be face painting. We have unique bicycle demonstrations. I don't know how else to describe them, but unique. So it's going to be a really neat day. We hope to see you all there. And again, for more information on that, go on our website or check out the museum's Facebook page too if you're on Facebook. So a really neat event. We hope to see you all there. So we're actually not going to be in the diner too much tonight. No, we have to leave all of our delicious food.
We'll come back afterwards and finish off. Yeah,
we can do that.
Yeah,
we're going to take you to a couple of different spots out in the museum. We've got a variety of topics this evening. We don't really have a theme here tonight.
No.
There truly is something for everyone in this next hour.
You know, the thing is, when we're piecing this together, would that be a good word?
Yeah.
There is so many interesting things out here that you can look up, and some of the items we're going to look at is kind of reference to more information, but some of the things is the real thing, so you can come and see it for yourself sometime.
And this is a lot of this is good sneak peek stuff, because if we put all this information out in the museum, we would have so many signs, you wouldn't even see the cars after a while. So this is some good, neat, behind the scenes stuff that we dig up, and we just don't have the space to tell it all. So these are some interesting little stories we've got tonight. So we'll meet you out in the museum. All right, so you might remember a few months ago we talked about the Chadwick Road Guide,
Right.
which was an
Cool.
early, well, it is cool, but it was an early navigational device, I guess you could call. It hooked onto your dash, with it was linked up to your speedometer, and there was a disc inside, and it turned and told you, and turn here at the
And what year was this from, to give an idea?
1912 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not talking something in the last 15 years has
no.
become popular.
Yeah, and
So
it's here partially also because the inventor of it, Lee Chadwick, made cars in Pottstown, Chadwick Autos, which are really, really nice, beautiful cars, and not many of them left, unfortunately. Well,
3.
3?
I
thought
think
it was
so.
2. I'll go with you.
Two and a
Three.
half. 2.5.
2.5.
Okay.
So we talked about that, and we have one of those devices, and it's in this case, although on the other side, because it was such a neat device, and you found, as you were researching it, there were other navigational
Right.
devices back then, and we talk about some of those in here. But there was also a series called the Blue Books.
Right.
Automobile Blue Books, and I don't recall if we talked about them too much.
I think I did, and
we mentioned them at least.
Yeah, and what a blue book is basically a book, and if you were traveling, let's say from Reading to Philadelphia, you would find Reading in the book, and it gives you written instructions on how to go from Reading to Philadelphia. You know, not really a map like we think of it, but you go to the center of Reading and you set your odometer to 0.0, and then you head off in the direction they give, and you come to the railroad track, it tells you you're crossing the railroad track. You come to a fork in the road and you take it.
Yeah.
That was Yogi Berra.
That was gonna
Okay. No, it'll tell you which way to turn here and there, and it'll lead you all the way. And it gives mileage, so you know you track it by. In the book, it says, you know, at 3.7 miles, you make a left turn and such, and that's the blue book.
Right, and it's very similar to directions like when you Google Maps or
Yes.
MapQuest something. It tells you, you know, go
Right.
6.2 miles and turn right onto Main Street or whatever. It's very similar to that. But they also, in addition to the directions, they come with lots of ads for hotels, garages that you could find in those areas that you could go to and use if you needed any of those services you would need while you were traveling.
And the garages, I want to point out that it's not just getting your car serviced, but it's somewhere where you can store your car too.
That's
for
true.
a period
Yes,
of time.
yeah. If you're looking for an extended stay
Yep.
somewhere. And the Blue Books, you know, eventually by 1921 they expand to like a 12-volume set, and they're books. So that's kind of about the end of the decline after that, because that's just too many books. It's expensive. It's not the easiest thing to navigate with. Obviously, you have an actual bound leather book to flip through. So, and Rand McNally starts coming out with maps, you know, fold-out maps that we know. So really, by 1929, there are no more automobile blue books. They stop publishing them. And things like AAA start coming out with their own versions to compete. But when we were doing this case, we found something else interesting. We found out about the Green Book, which we hadn't heard of before. And you'll see on your screen there's a cover for a 1940 Green Book. And the full name of it was the Negro Motorist Green Book, sometimes the Negro Traveler's Green Book. And this was an annual guidebook specifically for African Americans to use. And it was created and published by a New York City mailman. His name was Victor Green, and there's his photo there. And he had these come out every year from 1936 to 1966. So these didn't actually start until after the Blue Book was done with.
And what's the premise of the
Well,
book?
we have to remember what was going on here in the United States in those years. This is the Jim Crow era. So there is, you know, all throughout you always hear it with the South, but it was everywhere, that there was discrimination against African Americans, and businesses would very often refuse to serve African Americans, and there were no laws saying that they couldn't do this. This was acceptable. So, they're not going to be able to stay in the same hotels or use the same garages or eat in the same restaurants that white people will be able to use. But even despite this discrimination, there is a growing black middle class, and they are buying autos. And the number of autos that they're owning, it's increasing. So there's more African-American tourists and people going on road trips. So Victor Green came out with these green books. And he also opened a travel agency, and you can see here's an ad for his travel agency in one of these green books, and it says there, going to take a trip, attend some convention, make sure your accommodations before you leave. Housing conditions make this necessary, which I think we all pretty much know what he's referring to. And it says, too, on that ad, we have contacts with all hotels, tourist homes, and vacation resorts. Send us a list of the cities that you expect to pass through, dates, etc. And you could pay him a fee, and he would help you basically plan your tour to help you avoid some of these places.
That sounds sort of like what AAA does now.
It does,
it's like
actually.
The Trip
yeah.
Guide,
yes.
I believe it's called.
Yeah, Trip Guide, I think is what they call it. Triptych or something. And you can see also, too, on the edges of that travel agency ad, you'll see other businesses listed like barber shops and beauty parlors, other businesses that you may need as you're traveling, or if you're going on an extended leave, something that you might need while you're there. And again, not all businesses will cater to black customers, so they really do need to plan more than whites who are going on these trips. And he also worked on local sightseeing tours in New York City. There's an ad for one there. You could see it by bus or boat. And again, a sightseeing tour, but again, something that not all businesses offering sightseeing tours will offer to African Americans. And, now you also have two more African Americans who are employed as athletes, entertainers, salesmen. These are vocations that require a lot of travel. So these people are going to need this book as well. And there's also in that one ad, it said something about, let him know what town you wanted to pass through. And the motorist book, the green book, would, in its set of directions, from this city to this city, would purposefully know which towns to avoid, because there were things called sundown towns, which get their name from, they were all white, and it basically forbid African Americans to be there after sundown.
Wow, okay.
And these towns enforced that, sometimes with local laws, but also basically mob violence, that was okay. And these green books would help them avoid those towns entirely. And that was another unfortunate thing that they had to deal with. Again, here's a business that advertised in the green book, a hotel that would take black customers, and it was owned, you can see the proprietor was Mrs. Mamie Mitchell. I can't imagine there were too many female hotel owners too at the time. I thought that was interesting. So the Green Book, they stopped publishing this in 1966. This last photo I have is from 56, so not quite at the end, but more modern than the first book we had. And that's because in 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed, and that outlaws this discrimination that this book was trying to circumvent. These people didn't have to deal with. Of course, discrimination didn't go away overnight, but the book then kind of fades out soon after that in 66. So not really a good period of our history, but interesting, and makes you think about this whole travel from a totally different point of view than we were thinking. Let's see how these cute little road trips were done. Well, unfortunately, African Americans had to plan this a lot more than we did, and so that's the Green Book.
That's the Green Book.
Yeah.
So everybody watching, you have to come and read this. And this is a really good display. A lot of interesting things about the Green Book, the Blue Book, the Chadwick Road Guide, other road guides.
The Chadwick car. We put some things about the Chadwick car in here too. So just they're so inventive in the early days.
Oh yeah.
And even if some things didn't succeed, they weren't really financially successful, but they're still interesting, what people were trying to do. So I guess we're going to move on now to our next stop in the museum.
Yes, we are.
We'll see you in a minute. So, Dan, what is this month's World War II topic?
This month's World War II topic is rationing. Okay.
All right.
And as you can see, we're standing next to our museum's Model A Ford, and you see this letter here in the window, and that's the letter A.
A.
And it's for rationing. And we're going to be talking about that in a couple minutes, or a few minutes, we'll get to that. But I wanted to kind of give an overview of some of the stuff that was going on during World War II that concerned rationing. And first of all, there was the Office of Price Administration, which is the OPA. And that kind of regulated prices to sell things throughout the country, all sorts of things, whether it was food or cars or lumber, I don't know, whatever it was. But also they got involved with rationing a lot of materials throughout the country. And so I'm trying to think of some of them: gasoline, tires, sugar, meat, silk, shoes, nylons, other items. There was 8,000 rationing boards across the country.
Wow.
So they were very involved.
I'll say.
So, and the reason they did it, their little slogan was the only way to make sure everyone got their fair share. And there was different types of rationing. I'm not even going to go into that. But some of the things that were rationed, I rattled off a few of them a moment ago, but tires. Now you're going to be looking at a picture of this little kid bringing tires into I guess it's an auto parts store or a tire store, old tires. And so not only were they saving the material by not buying the stuff, but you wanted to turn into other,
like recycling them.
Recycling, which is in a couple months I'll be talking about the recycling back then. But anyway, they did that. Tires were a big thing. Gasoline was another thing. And I understand they did gasoline not because they need the gasoline, but because if people had gasoline, they'd use their vehicles and they would use up the tires. And they needed it because before the Japanese attacked certain places out around the Pacific Rim, that's where we got all the rubber for tires and a lot of other things. Another thing you're going to look at, it's like a poster of a soldier there drinking coffee. So coffee was rationed, bicycles were rationed, gasoline, I mentioned that, solid fuels, stoves, rubber footwear, shoes, all sorts of things. Canned fish and meats, cheese. And here's one thing, it was interesting, but typewriters. I'm thinking,
typewriters.
Yeah, that's what I said too when I came across this. And I have a typewriter rental certificate I found online.
Oh my gosh.
And this is to certify that anytime within 30 days from the date hereof, so-and-so may rent Class B typewriters for X amount of months. And it goes back to the Office of Price Administration, the OPA. And I thought that was interesting. So if you need a typewriter, I don't know why they were that regulated, but they were.
That's odd.
And so my paperwork's getting out of hand here. Just give me a moment.
I got to look up this typewriter thing.
Yeah, well, I'll give you it when we're done here.
I'm curious as to why.
Oh, yeah, well, I'll let you figure out the why.
That's my homework.
Tune in next month. Okay. Now, in 1943, Sears and Roebuck, or Sears, Roebuck and Company, they had a catalog containing a list of all ration farm equipment. Also told the reasons and benefits of rationing, as well as who is eligible. There you go. You get one of those catalogs that might mention the typewriters.
Maybe. All right.
Even chicken wire fencing was rationed. And I have an advertisement, you'll see it on screen there, and galvanized poultry netting. And you look at that in the upper right-hand corner of the advertisement, it says, netting and barbed wire are rationed. So it's really
Galvanized.
Really yeah, galvanized poultry netting.
That sounds a lot classier than chicken wire.
Yeah, and they have 2 different sizes, one for big chickens and one for
little
chicks.
chickens.
Yeah, little chickens, yeah. So you'll see that. And then I came across something, wartime edition of American Woman's Cookbook, contained revised recipes. Also gave advice in dealing with food shortages. So it was all sorts of things. And, you know, on the home front, you know, the people didn't have it easy, you know, just watching the news to find out how their son or brother was doing overseas. But, you know, over here in the States, they were, you know, really, it was 100% war effort for the whole country. And I thought that was interesting. Okay, now here's another neat thing I came across, and I did this, and I thought of you, Kendra.
Uh-oh.
But it's a, it shows, let's see, who does it show here? Daffy Duck and Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse and Goofy. And they're coming from the Super Duper Market, and they have ration books in their hand. So they advertise this way. You know, they're showing Walt Disney characters.
Yeah.
And why am I saying that? She just was at Disney World the other week. So.
I did. Can you tell? I've got such a great tan, from
I
being
have a
down
darker
in
tan
Florida.
than her. So anyway, that was something else. And anyway, let's talk about this sticker right here. That's an A sticker, obviously. It's the letter A, okay? And by the end of 1942, half of the United States automobiles were issued one of those stickers. It allowed 4 gallons of fuel per week. I don't know if I can do it. I'm thinking my car roughly 25 miles a gallon, so it's 100 miles. I could do that, but my tires probably wouldn't hold up. I'd wear them out or something.
I wouldn't make it here.
Okay, but also A-stickered cars were not to be driven for pleasure at all. So if I enjoyed my job, I couldn't go. Okay.
Man, we'd all be out of luck.
Yeah. Then you're going to see a picture on your screen there of the back of another sticker, and I believe that's the B sticker for driving that was deemed essential to the war effort. You had 8 gallons a week. So if you work in a factory that did war work, like here, Boyertown Body.
They obviously want you to get to work.
Yes. C sticker was for physicians, ministers, mail carriers, and railroad workers. T sticker was for truckers supplying population with supplies. You had unlimited amount of fuel there. And you had an X sticker, which went to members of Congress and VIPs. Oh. So, now, if you were in Britain, here's something else. If you lived in Britain, their food rationing lasted for 14 years until 1954.
Yeah, wow.
That would be a long time to go without a meal.
They were.
14 years. So
they were in a much rougher spot than we were,
they were
after the war.
I guess they couldn't grow their own food and stuff.
Wow.
So that was that. Now, that kind of concludes this part, but just tonight before I came here, I came across something. And
Breaking news.
Breaking news. And as soon as I can find it here, and I never heard of this, and I wanted to copy the picture and show it to you, but I'm not sure if I could do it. So it's called Take the Plywood Bus, Help the Boys Overseas. And it was on the Hemmings Daily website that I get, this little newsletter. And it's a bus during World War II. It was made out of plywood. And it carried 117 war workers for the assembly line. And it was made out of plywood, which is really interesting. It says, built out of plywood during World War II in Santa Fe's Wichita, Kansas shop. That's Santa Fe Railroad. They also had the bus things to conserve valuable war material. The Victory liner was used to transport civilian employees to military arms factory during the war. Passenger capacity of 117. So really interesting. And it has 2 front axles, and the whole front of it kind of swivels. It's real odd looking. But so what I'm going to suggest to you watching there, you go online, you go up to Hemmings and just type in plywood bus, it'll probably come up.
Like us on Facebook, and I'll put that on there.
Okay.
I'll link to that.
Yeah. So there you are. And so that kind of is a segue, because we're going to talk about wood right after this, but we have to kind of take a trot over to the other car and take a look. So see you in a minute or two. Okay, we last left you. We were talking about rationing, but not really rationing. We were talking about a plywood bus, okay? Plywood, wood. We're talking about wood now.
Yeah.
How's that for an introduction?
And now we're after the war.
Yeah, and the thing is,
time jumps a
so
little.
we're going to be talking about woodies here, and so that's why I'm wearing like my beach outfit
casual
here.
tonight.
Yeah, that's about yeah. It's my anti-plaid shirt. So so anyway, we all know about woodies, or you should know, or you probably heard about them, and you know there's songs about them and everything else. And this is Chrysler Town and Country Woody. That's part of the museum, and you know, there's a story behind this about Paul Hafer, who was one of the ones who came up with the wood theme on a car. Paul Hafer, who was the founder of the museum, and but anyway, the Chrysler Town and Country started about 1941, I believe, where they took a regular sedan, Chrysler, big car, and they made it wood from pretty much from the front of the door to the back. And 42, they did likewise. And then after the war, they came out with this style of car. So there you have it. You have the wood car. But all along, you had station wagons, and that's where the woodies were famous with the beach scene out
Surfboard
California.
on top.
You got it, okay. And that was it. And so we're going to talk about woodies tonight, obviously, but a little, you know, I don't talk about anything ordinary. You know, it's just too ordinary.
That's boring.
You see these every day.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's 3 of them in the parking lot where I work. not really. So anyway, we're gonna bounce right up to the present. And I went online. I didn't even know this, but Chrysler makes a town and country van right now. And I know they did several years ago, and it was the upscale van with the fake wood on the side and stuff. Well, it doesn't have the fake wood, but it's called a luxury minivan. So, and I saw them online, they're for sale, and I don't know what the cost is. But anyway, so that's what it is right now in 2016. Let's go back about 30 years. Maybe you remember the K car, the Chrysler K car, which was kind of a smaller car, and they had a town and country style, and it was a convertible, and it was just this little car, convertible, with fake wood on the side, and that was kind of interesting. And they sold for about 3 years, maybe 4. I'm not quite sure there. And you'll be seeing a picture of that right now on your screen. They were advertised as reintroducing an American classic. So Chrysler was looking at it as being a classic car.
Yes. And
so they were reintroducing it. Well, we're going to go back even further than that. We're going to go back to 1968. And this is, I remember as a kid where I lived, you go down about a block from me, and there was a guy who had a used car lot, and he had a car like this parked right in front of the house. And I had a newspaper route, and I thought it was the coolest car. It was a 68 Chrysler Newport convertible, and it was a regular sedan, a convertible, but it had the wood paneling on the side. You'll be seeing a couple pictures of that, front and back of a 68 Chrysler Newport. And they were kind of neat, and you don't see, have you seen one of them? You can say no.
No, my mom had a Newport, but didn't have the wood paneling.
No, you didn't. It was just the same styling as the station wagon, the same wood paneling on the side as the station wagon, but it was on a convertible. And it was not real popular. let's see, they had 965 hardtops and 175 convertibles. So it was convertible or hardtop, I'm sorry. Introduced at the 68 Chicago Automobile Show. It was an option. It cost you $126. They made just a little over 1,000 of these. They actually brought it back the next year. It cost $1 more at $127. But the next year it was a whole new body style, and it was kind of slab-sided. It was just smooth sides, and they put it on. And you'll see a picture of that also on your screen. Also, 1968, the year the Chrysler came out with theirs, Mercury had the same idea. And in Mercury Park Lane, you could have a convertible, or they had like a fastback model. And they called it, that wasn't just wood trim or anything, they called it yacht paneling. Ooh. So, they got that nautical theme there.
That probably cost another couple bucks. Yeah.
Let's see, I don't have the price for that, but.
Sounds fancy.
I have a quote from one of their advertisements here, which I'll read verbatim. Wood tone paneling has always been a good idea, but until now, it could only be found on luxury station wagons, like our best-selling Mercury Colony Park. At Lincoln Mercury, this good idea has been expanded into an even better idea. Now the extra fine car touch of simulated walnut tone paneling is available on our Mercury Park Lane convertible and two-door hardtop, and our Mercury Brome two-door hardtop. It is the same paneling that is used on our Colony Park, that's our station wagon, and comparably rich-looking, handsome, and durable.
Oh.
Yeah, isn't that clever?
Lovely.
It makes you want to go run out and get one.
It does.
And actually, they are pretty neat. I've seen both the Mercury and Chrysler. I've seen them in shows, and you'll see a picture of the Mercury on your screen there. That's that was some show. I think that was at Macungie I saw that, possibly. I forget now, because I don't see the picture in front of me.
Well, yeah.
But, once in a while, you see them, you go online, they have write-ups about it, but kind of a rare vehicle.
Yeah.
And kind of an interesting theme to it. Okay, we're gonna stay in the 60s here. We're gonna talk about a company called PIP, P-I-P. Ever hear of it? Yeah.
No.
No, okay, it stands for something. Pacific Interchange Parts, Inc. Oh. Okay, it's out of Los Angeles, 1966. I came across a couple of advertisements on old hot rod magazines in 1966. And I go online, very, very little stuff about it. Mostly the things you saw was their genuine walnut trimmed steering wheels. That cost you about $30. Ooh. And you go online like eBay and such, and you can find adapters and all that sort of stuff, but not really exciting. And so you're looking at a picture of an advertisement from it, but then there's something else. Actually, there was a quote from that, I think it's on the advertisement, it says, complete your wood ensemble with PIP's sensational new wood rim steering wheel, genuine walnut. So they really emphasized. They also made motorcycle helmets. You could get an Easy Rider Captain America model, which is really cool. So here's the best one though, and I saved it to last. You see a picture of this is out of, again, a Hot Rod magazine, 1966. I'm gonna give you a copy of this so you can look at that.
It's a PIP.
It's a PIP, and you're looking at a ultra stylish Mustang, and the cove on the side has wood grain in it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking,
something.
That kind of looks cheesy, I guess, but I think if you knew about this and you pull an old Mustang with this, I don't know, it'd be kind of neat. But you see in the tail panel between the tail lights there, and the only recently PIP set the style for auto wood interiors, so you could get interior stuff too, which I couldn't find anything. Now it's wood grain exteriors by PIP, pre-cut and then kits. So you get pre-cut. I don't know what kind of kits, how many different cars you could get. They just showed the Mustang.
Wow.
So there it is, $7.95. Or you could get your own sheets and cut your own down there.
Yeah.
For like $2.
For cut it yourselfers, it says.
Cut it yourselfers.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting reading some of this stuff. And there's your steering wheel again. So, but
Wow.
very, very little of this I found online. And I thought, oh, this is great. I saw this going through the old magazines, said, TV show stuff. I have to talk about
Oh yeah,
that.
this is, yeah.
And
Because you've written all over it.
yeah. Well, it's that plaid roofs too. So you know, again, we could thank Paul Hafer for coming up with the wood design here on cars, and you know, I remember talking to him about this, the cars here, and he was saying, you know, the town and country, because the front end was metal, that was the town, and the back was wood, so it was country.
It's the country.
But anyway, it developed by 1966 to fake wood on the sides of Mustangs. So
Yeah.
that's
I wonder if Paul had any idea that that's where it was
No.
going to go.
I don't know. I just think it's kind of an interesting
cool.
idea. So, okay,
All right.
that's it.
All
I
right.
think we're doing another segment.
We're on to our next stop now.
I think you're going to be talking
Yeah,
now.
it's my turn now.
Okay, cool.
You know, it occurs to me now that we've, by accident, I think, done all this in chronological order. We started with the 36 Blue Book. We moved to World War II. Then we did the Chrysler, and now
Wow.
here we are.
Wow. That's good.
Unplanned.
Yeah,
But we're good.
we are
I
good.
shouldn't have said it was unplanned. Everyone thought we knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
So, Dan,
What?
the other week, a little news story came into my email inbox that said that Les Wass died. I think I'm saying that name
Okay.
correctly. W-A-A-S, Les Wass.
Okay.
Who
Who
was
is
Les?
Les? I don't know.
Who was Les Wass, you may ask?
I didn't send it to you because I don't
No,
know.
so you don't know. I
No.
really am quizzing you. Well, you probably have not heard his name before, but I'm sure you have heard his work many, many times in your life. He was the writer of the Mr. Softy jingle,
Okay.
which we can play right now.
Here comes Mr. Softy,
now-
the soft ice cream man.
Les
Delicious
Wass
treat for the
was
whole
94 years old when he died the other week. So,
Okay.
and he wrote that jingle in 1960, which was just a few years after William and James Conway began Mr. Softy Incorporated. They did that in 56, and they founded it in Philadelphia. And the first ice cream they served, which I thought was cute, was on St. Patrick's Day, and it was, of course,
Green.
it was green. So yeah, it was their first, their introduction to the world. But in 60, they wanted to have a jingle to go along with their product. So they hired Les Wass to do it. And he was also a native Philadelphian. And with the exception of his World War II service, he pretty much lived in this area his whole life. He, in fact, died at the Abington Memorial Hospital.
Okay.
So he still was living here. And the one obituary I read had this quote: "Both loved and loathed, the jingle remains a lasting part of the collective American childhood." And it certainly was loathed by some people. I read these two instances that made me chuckle. 2002 in Hartford, Connecticut, a community court said that Mr. Softy Trucks could only play the song only 6 times in a row on any given block.
I have to say right here,
Yes.
I think it was last summer.
Yes.
It was one of those nice days. It was like 75 degrees. I was indoors. The windows were open, and there was a Mr. Softy truck parked right outside. And, you know, I think the kids had it timed. So he was there for like 15 minutes, and that jingle over and over and over. So, yeah, I was loathing it at the moment. Yes.
Sometimes we have the video that we showed. We had that playing with the truck in the gallery, and I think there are some people that when they're working in here are ready to about probably smash the TV screen in to make it stop. But you have to admit that it is effective.
It is.
Very effective. But most famously, New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, in an attempt to rid the city streets of noise, tried to ban the song completely in 2004, which New Yorkers really did not like that at all.
I think I remember, and maybe I'm jumping ahead of it a little bit, but I believe in New York, they're allowed to play as they're traveling.
Yes, that
But
was
if they're stopped, they can't play it.
that. Eventually, then they made that compromise that they could only, and that goes for all ice cream vendors. It was not just
Okay.
Mr. Softy. They can only play their jingles when the trucks are actually moving. So not when they're standing on the street
Okay.
corner like you
Yeah.
experienced
Yeah.
last summer. Yeah. But it was I read a New York Times article then too about it, and this was not an obituary. It was about this whole thing, and they were saying city streets forever were very loud. I mean, you had the paper boys on the corner selling papers, people selling other things, the food vendors yelling, musicians, and then later kids with their boom boxes and stuff. And now they've really tried to get rid of a lot of that. Kids we wear earphones now. We don't carry the big boom boxes. Or they've tried to kind of make city streets quieter to kind of get it just to traffic, which is loud enough. But New Yorkers were really unhappy about getting rid of the Mr. Softy jingle because they felt it was truly a part of the city soundscape, if you will, that it was really part of their city. So that was the compromise that they made. So you will still hear
Got
it
that.
in New York City.
Sounds like a road trip.
We can get ice cream too, right?
Yeah.
It's part of the research. Yeah, okay.
You guys can come too.
The song's official title is actually Jingle and Chimes, which is horribly generic, but what do you do? And it really is heard all over the country. Mr. Softy, probably not as big of a company as it once was, but they still operate 600 trucks in 15 states, and they're in China
Yes.
as well. Well, let's get back to Les Wass for a second, because he's really interesting, and I don't want to totally leave him behind here. His advertising career was more than 50 years he was in this business, and he wrote and produced more than 970 jingles.
Any other ones that we might know?
Well, companies that I couldn't find really any that were familiar to me. He wrote some for Ford, the Coast Guard, Holiday Inn, the Philadelphia Phillies. The only other one I could find any lyrics to, when I was looking through this at the moment, was for Kissling's Sauerkraut in Fishtown. Which, anyone who knows me here knows I can't stand sauerkraut, but these lyrics are pretty hilarious to me. It was, give me a little Kissling
Wait. Shouldn't you be singing
I'm not
it?
going to sing it because I don't know the tune.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Sorry, couldn't find a video of it. Give me a little Kissling sauerkraut. It's fresh and clean, without a doubt. In transparent Pleo film bags, it's sold. Kissling sauerkraut, hot or cold.
I'm ready to run out and get some.
Makes it,
right
see,
now.
it's gotten in your head,
Oh,
hasn't
yeah.
it? It's done its job. But he was inducted into the Broadcast Pioneers of Philadelphia in 2005, and according to them, this I thought was cool, he came up with the number system for reporting school closings.
How about that?
So I don't know if they do that anymore, actually. But I know when I was a kid, we listened on the radio for your number.
They didn't have numbers when I was a kid. We
Well,
listened for our town.
Les didn't get there yet, I
No.
guess. Yeah. But he was also known as, this is a quote, a semi-professional prankster. You'll like this.
Semi-professional.
Yes.
How about that?
In 1956, Wass and some of his fellow admin posted a sign in a Philadelphia hotel that read, "The Procrastination Club meeting has been postponed."
Okay. I like that.
But he did it kind of as a joke, but it drew so much attention that he eventually did hold a meeting, and he started and served as president of the Procrastinators Club of America, which today claims thousands of members. And he said in an interview, as president of the Procrastinators Club of America, he started 3 holidays: National Procrastination Week, National Be Late for Something Day, and they're still working on the 3rd one.
Ah, I got it. Yeah.
But this one I like too. The Procrastinators Club held a peace march at Philadelphia City Hall in 1966 to seek an end to the War of 1812.
Okay. There you go.
I like this guy.
Yeah.
He's good.
It's good.
But yeah, he was a local, lived in the Philadelphia area. His kids, according to obituaries, still live in this area too. They live down in the main line area as well. So really, why are we talking about this? Well,
Mr. Softy.
yeah, we have a Mr. Softy truck. That video with the jingle, there was a truck in there. That's a Boyertown bodied Mr. Softy truck. And they built quite a few of those here. And this one is a really nice one. We have this here on display. The Mr. Softy company ordered a whole fleet of these trucks from the Body Works in 1958. At that point, they were in Runnymede, New Jersey. They started in Philly, but they kind of outgrew that site, and they had to move to Runnymede. They were pretty much all like this one, mounted on Ford chassis. They've got an Onan generator in the back.
Okay.
Now, is that local too? I got more.
don't
I got
know.
so much homework for next month.
Yeah.
Man, doing it to myself. It's got all these mixers, refrigeration in the back, and they all pretty much, at least in 58, look like this. And Body Works built trucks for a couple of ice cream vendors. Howard Johnson's was one. They Jolly Roger is another one
Right.
that comes to mind. But Mr. Softy was really their biggest ice cream.
And how
Truck
many of these
customer.
did they make?
I'm not
I thought
Sure.
I remember reading that, like the first batch, there's hundreds of them,
Yeah,
which they really grew quick,
yeah, they did. I mean,
just
their
in a
business,
few years.
like, it just exploded really
Yeah.
fast, really. And then a few years, they were moving facilities and ordering hundreds of trucks. And you said first batch. They did make Mr. Softy trucks at least up until 1977. And we know that because at our food truck fair in June, we will have a 1977 Boyertown bodied Mr. Softy truck here. So
Okay.
there's another reason to come to our food truck fair, get some Mr. Softy. And the one photo you'll see there on your screen, that's of some of the trucks. Not all have been painted yet. They're out, outside of the one building on the Body Works complex. Now this particular truck was given to us by its original and up until that point only owner, Mr. Henry Gaffey of Herkimer, New York.
Herkimer.
Herkimer.
I like that name of the
It's a
town.
good name, isn't
Herkimer.
it? I hope I'm saying that right. I hope all
Sounds
the people
right.
in Herkimer think. We've got a New Yorker in the audience who's nodding at me, so I guess I said it right. Yes. Now he bought it, he told me, after he saw it demonstrated at the Hotel Utica. Mr. Softy took trucks up there. They didn't really have any trucks in the Mohawk Valley at that point, so they were doing this demonstration, and Henry really jumped at it and wanted to get a truck and start this business. Now, you'll see in here, there's a root beer barrel, which is a really neat thing. That's original equipment with this truck, but as Henry told me, they only used it the first year he had it because the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets said it was unsanitary.
It's a root beer barrel.
Government.
Yeah,
idiot
what do
town.
they know?
But Henry thought it was neat, so he didn't throw it away. He kept it because he just thought it was really cool. And we're thankful he did because it is neat, and we get to have it now in this truck. And he was, unfortunately, Henry passed away a few years ago, but he was telling me stories about this, and he said at the end of every night, instead of counting their pennies, they threw all the pennies in a big wood barrel, and at the end of the summer, he'd have about $400 worth in pennies, and they used that money to take the family on a skiing trip to Vermont.
That's
I
kind
thought
of
was
neat.
cool. That was
Yeah.
their reward for having a successful summer. Now, if you look on this, it's really nice condition. What's on here now are all decals, the lettering. Mr. Softy here is a decal. Now, originally that would have all been painted on, and they would have painted that on
By
here.
hand.
Yeah, I don't, I assume.
Yeah.
And they would have done that here, actually, because we have photos of it. And our understanding is if the customer had the truck painted here, we got photos of it.
Okay,
That's
right.
our understanding. But these are decals, and that's because Mr. Softy wanted their trucks to look clean and new and fresh. So every 10,000 miles or abouts, he told me they would send them new decals to cover up the writing so that the trucks always looked clean. And
Wow.
so, but originally these would have been painted on, and they are paint underneath, I bet. We're not going to try to figure that out.
No.
No. Now, Henry operated this truck for 21 years. He used this, and in 1980 he retired it and he kept it in his garage, and then in the 90s he would bring it out a couple times throughout the year to do parades, local parades. And I have a last photo on there. That's a photo of Henry and his wife Dottie. That's when we went to pick this up, and like I said, unfortunately he passed away a few years ago, but he obviously really loved this truck. It really is in nice shape, even the fact that he kept the root beer barrel and all that, and he was really proud of it, and we're happy to have it here. So we figured we'd talk about that a little bit tonight after learning about the jingle writer.
Right.
'Cause it's
And I gotta say, when I give tours to people around here, like if there are groups of kids, like Cub
yeah.
Scouts and stuff, they all want to look at this. And you know, I'm over on the other side where behind the camera here, pointing these vehicles out, and all the kids are over here.
Yeah.
And I said, well, we're not even going to talk about it. And they all are upset. And, yeah, I'm just teasing them, but you know,
Yeah.
it's funny how they just gravitate to something like this.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's popular, and it's just a really beautiful truck, and we thank Henry for taking good care of it and donating it to the museum. It was great. So that's a little bit on Mr. Softy and the equally loathed and loved song behind it. I have to say, last summer now, when we were at the beach in New Jersey, and it's like the first step I took on the boardwalk, and it's the Mr. Softy jingle. There was a Mr. Softy stand there. It's like,
Wow.
can't escape work, huh? Followed me here, Mr. Softy. But it'll be in your head now all night. You can all thank
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Swell.
Thank Les.
Yeah.
So that's the Mr. Softy. So that's, I guess, our final stop then back in the diner.
Yeah, I guess.
All right, well, Tori here is holding a photo that was given to us by a visitor who stopped in, and he actually was curious about the truck itself in there, what it was. It's a Buick. We figured that out, but maybe you read on the side here, it says Pottstown Auto Refinishing. And this was like a body company, I guess, and it was near the Hill School. I'm not entirely sure exactly where, but he thought it was, next to the Hill School property. And it was just a neat photo, and it was some Pottstown history in here. And, we just want all of you at home to know, if you have photos of, some Pottstown transportation history or any local stuff, any local transportation history or stories, send them in. We'd love to hear them, and we can, include them on the show. So just drop me an email, Kendra, Kendra, at BoyerTownMuseum.org, and I'd love to see more photos like this or any other kind of businesses like that in the area, and it's just neat for us. We all learn stuff by looking at this. So we hope you enjoyed our hodgepodge tonight of topics.
Potpourri.
Potpourri. Well, it's like a Jeopardy category now. Automotive potpourri tonight.
Yes. Hodgepodge works.
And we're glad you all joined us, and we hope you'll come back and see us again in June. In the meantime, come visit us here at the museum 7 days a week, 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. So we'll see you all next month.
Bye.
Open!
Here comes Mr. Softy, the soft ice cream man. Delicious treats for the whole family. A soft ice cream store on wheels. Look for Mr. Softy in your neighborhood. Mr. Softy brings his store right to your door. A great big soft ice cream store on wheels with lots and lots of creamy, smooth, soft ice cream. Look at that cone, just brimming over with your favorite Mr. Softy flavor. Or how about a sundae? Bet you can almost taste this one right now. Milkshakes? The best ever. Cold, foamy, rich with flavor. Banana boats, too, along with many other tempting treats to please the entire family, are yours when Mr. Softy comes to your door. So look for him. Listen for him. The man with delicious soft ice cream, that's Mr. Softy. Dad's waiting. So's Mom. The kids, too. Even Louie. And then they heard it. Here comes Mr. Softy. Yes, everyone comes a-running for Mr. Softy delicious soft ice cream. That's Mr. Softy. Now, let's look at all the wonderful, tasty treats Mr. Softy brings to your door. Creamy, rich, delightfully refreshing soft ice cream in a whole wide variety of delicious treats. And Mr. Softy has giant-sized milkshakes, banana boats with all the trimmings, and just look at this Mr. Softy sundae. Oh, there are treats galore in the Mr. Softy Complete Soft Ice Cream Store on wheels. Get ready to treat your family the next time you hear Mr. Softy coming down your street. Look for him. Listen for him. That's Mr. Softy.